So Vanessa, we've been hearing a lot about change fatigue, and I know you just recently wrote something about this. So maybe it'd be helpful if you could talk a little bit about what's happening from a change fatigue perspective and what can people be doing to help reduce some of that fatigue.
Yeah, I think pretty much every client and every prospect we talk to says, how do you manage change fatigue? Everybody in our organization is exhausted, but we know we don't have the luxury of pulling back on change efforts, right? The world around us is demanding that we still move forward, but our people don't know how to manage some of that exhaustion that's coming along with it. And so I think there are a few things that leaders can do to help mitigate that. May not fully go away, but help kind of lower the level of change fatigue in their organization. The first is to identify priorities and trade-offs, right? And often we miss that second part, right? We identify here are strategic priorities. It's where we're going to put our efforts. It's where we're going to place our bets, but then nothing else stops. So for employees on the front line, it just feels like we're adding things to their plate and we're not telling them you can stop this project or you don't have to go to these meetings. And so it just feels like it's even more that they have to work through. And then the second one is really thinking about building a bigger bench, right? Tap into more people across the organization. It's really easy to go to your usual suspects, the people that you can trust, that you know are going to get things done, but then they're going to get more and more burnt out. And I guaranteed there's a lot more discretionary energy in the organization than leaders tend to think there really is. And then the last one is about sort of knitting things together, connecting the dots. How do you help people see that the change efforts that you're driving fit in a bigger picture and that they're not all disparate, disconnected efforts? And the more it feels like just puzzle pieces that are building the same puzzle, the easier it is for people to also see how various efforts can serve multiple purposes at the same time, instead of, again, feeling like, oh, we're just putting more and more on people's plates.
You know, that last point is really interesting. The way I always think about this is no different than sort of, an individual doing work, right? If you're doing stuff that you kind of have to do because it's just, it's not all that exciting. Maybe you know how to do it anyway, and you're just doing things that are necessary, but not necessarily things that you're excited about, you start to get tired, right? I can only do that for a little while. I mean, after a while, it's sort of, that's it, I'm done with it. But if I'm doing something that I'm really excited about, or if I'm doing, some research on a new idea that has just come up and that I'm really excited to understand, and I'm really curious to figure out what's happening, and I'm excited about how that's going to help me do something else, I don't feel as fatigued, right? I could go for much longer. And I think it's the same thing from an organizational perspective when it comes to change. If it's change that I understand why, I'm excited about, I can see how it all connects together, I want to be part of it, I want to put effort into it, I'm not going to feel that same level of change fatigue, because it is, in many ways, I might not even see it as change, because I just see it as an exciting opportunity that I want to take advantage of, right? So to me, I think that particularly that last point, I agree with the other two as well, but I think particularly that last point is just so important to make sure that leaders are thinking about how to tell the whole story of how it all fits together, and why it's going to lead to better outcomes in the future, and why it's going to lead to better benefits for all of us.